Thunderstorms are beautiful, but they have a dark side. What happens when the storm brings something far more terrifying than rain? These true horror stories will make you fear the next crack of thunder. It was a night like no other. The storm had been building all day, with dark, menacing clouds slowly rolling in, swallowing the sun and casting everything in an eerie gray light. By late evening, the first raindrops began to fall, tapping gently against the windows. It was a sound I had always found comforting. Thunderstorms were my favorite kind of weather. I loved the wild chaos of nature unleashed, the way the wind howled and the sky lit up with brilliant flashes of lightning. But this storm, this one was different. It felt alive, as though it had a will of its own. I was alone in the house, a fact that normally wouldn't bother me. I'd spent countless evenings alone, watching storms pass by, enjoying the quiet solitude. But tonight, the air felt heavy with something I couldn't quite place, a sense of unease that clung to the edges of my mind like a shadow. The storm outside was growing stronger, the wind howling louder with each passing minute. The rain had intensified, pounding against the windows in sheets, and the occasional flash of lightning illuminated the darkened rooms for a split second before plunging them back into blackness. I was sitting in the living room, curled up on the couch with a blanket, when the lights flickered for the first time. It was just a brief flicker, so fast I almost didn't notice it, but it was enough to send a jolt of unease through me. I brushed it off, convincing myself it was just the storm. But then it happened again, and this time the lights went out completely. The house was plunged into darkness, and the only sound was the relentless rain and the distant rumble of thunder. I fumbled for my phone, turning on the flashlight app to cut through the oppressive blackness. The small beam of light did little to calm my nerves. I stood up, trying to shake off the growing sense of dread that had taken hold of me, and made my way to the kitchen to find some candles. As I reached for the drawer where the candles were kept, I heard it, a noise so faint I almost missed it. A soft creak, like a door being slowly opened. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. The sound had come from upstairs. I tried to tell myself it was just the house settling, or maybe the wind pushing against one of the doors. But deep down, I knew better. Something was wrong. I grabbed the candles and lit them, their soft glow casting flickering shadows on the walls. I stood there for a moment, trying to calm my racing heart, but the feeling of being watched wouldn't leave me. The house, which had always been my safe haven, now felt like a trap closing in around me. Then, from somewhere above me, I heard it again, the unmistakable sound of footsteps. If you're already feeling the chills, make sure to like this video and share it with your friends who love a good scare. I stood frozen in place, listening. The footsteps were slow, deliberate, and heavy, as though whoever or whatever was upstairs wasn't in a hurry. My mind raced. I knew I was alone in the house. No one else had been home when the storm started. I hadn't heard anyone come in. So how could there be footsteps? The sound grew louder, and with each step, my fear deepened. I wanted to run, to get out of the house, but my legs refused to move. The only light came from the small, flickering flames of the candles, casting distorted shadows across the walls. The thunder outside rumbled, shaking the house, but it was the sound of the footsteps that terrified me the most. They were unmistakable now, coming down the stairs, slowly but surely, as though whatever was up there knew I had nowhere to go. My breath caught in my throat as the footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs. I strained my ears, trying to hear more, but the house had gone deathly silent. The rain outside had slowed to a soft drizzle, and the wind had died down. All I could hear was the pounding of my heart in my chest. I turned slowly toward the hallway that led to the staircase, my hands trembling as I held the candle. The dim light barely reached the end of the hall, but I could see the outline of the staircase in the distance. My eyes scanned the darkness, searching for movement, but there was nothing. No sound, no shadow. For a moment, I allowed myself to believe that maybe I had imagined the whole thing. Maybe the storm had played tricks on my mind, making me hear things that weren't really there. But then, just as I was about to turn away, I saw it. A figure standing at the top of the stairs. I couldn't make out any details in the darkness, but the figure was tall, its silhouette looming over me as it stood motionless at the top of the staircase. My heart raced, and I felt a wave of cold terror wash over me. I wanted to scream, but the sound wouldn't come. I could only stand there, frozen in place, staring at the figure as it began to move. It descended the stairs slowly, deliberately, each step echoing through the house. I backed away, my hand shaking so badly that the candle almost went out. The figure was halfway down the stairs now, its face still hidden in shadow. I took another step back, my breath coming in short, shallow gasps. And then, just as it reached the bottom of the stairs, the candle flickered and went out. What would you do in this situation? Comment below and share your thoughts. The darkness was suffocating. My heart pounded in my ears, and for a moment, I was too terrified to move. I stood there, paralyzed, waiting for the figure to make its next move. But nothing happened. The house was eerily silent, the storm outside having died down to nothing more than a soft patter of rain. I fumbled for my phone, desperate to turn the flashlight back on. My hands shook as I swiped at the screen, but in the darkness I couldn't see what I was doing. Panic surged through me, and I nearly dropped the phone in my haste. Finally, the light came on, casting a faint glow around me. I spun around, shining the light toward the staircase, but the figure was gone. My heart raced as I scanned the room, searching for any sign of movement. Had I imagined it? Was it just a trick of the shadows, my mind playing games in the dark? But no, those footsteps, the presence at the top of the stairs, it had been real. I hadn't imagined it. I took a step forward, my phone's flashlight trembling in my hand. The house was still eerily quiet, the only sound the soft drip of water from the gutters outside. I moved cautiously toward the staircase, shining the light up toward the top where the figure had stood. There was nothing there now, just darkness and silence. But then, as I reached the bottom of the stairs, I felt it, a cold breath on the back of my neck. I froze, every muscle in my body tensing. Slowly I turned around, my flashlight shaking as I pointed it behind me. There was nothing there. The hallway was empty, the front door still closed and locked. But the air around me had grown colder, and the sense of being watched had returned, stronger than ever. I backed away, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. The candle I had lit earlier was still flickering on the table, casting long, eerie shadows across the walls. I could feel the presence, even though I couldn't see it. It was there, in the darkness, watching me. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, flooding the house with harsh, artificial light. I blinked against the sudden brightness, my eyes adjusting to the change. The figure was gone, and the oppressive feeling that had hung in the air was starting to fade. But I knew, deep down, that it wasn't over. I didn't sleep at all that night. I stayed in the living room, every light in the house turned on, waiting for something, anything, to happen. But the figure never returned, and the storm eventually passed. By morning, the house was quiet again, and the sun had come out, casting long golden rays through the windows. But even as I stood there, watching the sunlight filter through the trees, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The house didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like something else was living there now, something that had come with the storm. And I knew without a doubt that it would come back. If this story kept you on edge, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another terrifying tale.